Here is my attempt at a brief description of every single neighborhood in Albuquerque. Let's get started with Oldtown, where everything began centuries ago. You can find older properties built hundreds of years ago with thick adobe walls, and you can find some newer homes where the old homes were torn down and a new piece of modern architecture was built. The restaurants and shops at Oldtown people flock to frequently. There's also everything nearby. Downtown Nob Hill is just around the corner. Sawmill Market, which is fairly new, Hotel Chaco, Hotel Albuquerque, and of course the Rio Grande River and the trails along it. Moving a little bit closer to the river, down into the Albuquerque Country Club area, obviously there's the country club with the golf course, pool, gym, and the other amenities of being a member. But the neighborhood itself, tree-lined streets, little parks, think of Charles McGill and Jesse Pinkman's house in Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. Larger homes, 2,500 square feet to 5,000 square feet, and some really cool architecture in this area. Moving a little bit east, downtown, you can find an old Victorian home built a century ago. You can also find a high-rise condo with a studio apartment or a two-bed, two-bath condo. And of course, everything in downtown, the shops, the restaurants are close by, and Nob Hill is just around the corner. Oldtown is just around the corner. It's the sort of in-between space, and a space that people look to if they want bikeability, walkability. Continuing to move east into Nob Hill, this is all about being close to the University of New Mexico and the shops and restaurants in Nob Hill. Walkability, bikeability, this is the place to be if you want both of those. It's an area that people really like to be near. Also, the job opportunities are close by. The Air Force Base and Sandia Labs right around the corner. The airport, the University of New Mexico, 3 of the major hospitals, Lovelace, Presbyterian, and UNMH are nearby. And so it's a great place to live, to be near work and near all of the best shops and restaurants in Albuquerque. Now around Nob Hill, there's North Campus, which is a few neighborhoods built around the park with some cool mid-century architecture and some ranch-style properties, a little more private, a little bit more secluded in North Campus. And then as we move south, similar as we move into Ridgecrest, tree-lined streets, little larger properties, and some cool architecture. Continuing to move east as we near the Foothills and Hills, which we'll get to in a second, we pass through the airport area, the International District, and some other smaller communities. Think smaller properties, 3-bed, 2-bath, 15 to 2,000 square feet at the most. And as development has increased moving east in Nob Hill, like Dianza Motor Lounge and Broadstone, this has really increased property values in the area, and people are moving to these areas more than they ever have before. Now, finishing up this section in Hills Country Club area, again surrounding a golf course, and you are a little bit higher elevation, so you get these views. And of course, you can hike up to the Hills and see the landscape views down into the Rio Grande Valley and beyond. The homes in Hills are larger, think similar to Country Club area, 3 to 5,000 square feet sometimes. Ranch style, mid-century modern, some cool architecture as well. Now moving north along the foothills, we get into the near Foothills area. This is similar to Hills. You get the views, you get some cool architecture, but it's a little bit more affordable than further north into High Desert and Sandia Heights. 2 very desirable communities with incredible views, some incredible architecture. High Desert is more of a master plan community, so you get sidewalks and street lamps. Sandia Heights feels a little bit more like Santa Fe. It's that nice combination of being right at the base of the Sandia Mountains, so the trails are accessible outside, the views are great, but you get these windy roads without sidewalks, without street lamps. Feels a little bit more rural. Now moving back down west, we get into North Albuquerque Acres. Typical lot size 0.89, so you get a little bit more space. And you can find some grand estates in this area from 5,000 to 15,000 square feet. Obviously you have some 2,000 to 3,000 as well mixed in. But this is really the area that people look to have a little bit of space, some great views, some privacy. Moving a little bit south into the Tanawan Country Club area, again being around a golf course community, the amenities, the pool, the 2 golf courses, or the golf course east and west of Tanawan. This is a guard-gated community, patrolled streets, quiet, private, secluded space where you can find larger homes, 3,000 to 5,000 square feet, on a little bit smaller lot. So you don't have the space like you do in North Albuquerque Acres, but you do have the master planned and guard gated community. Now the rest of this sort of area is Northeast Heights before we get to Uptown, which is a little bit further south. Northeast Heights, think of it as the suburbs of Albuquerque originally as we expanded out from Oldtown and Nob Hill. Ranch-style homes built between the 50s and 80s, brick or stucco siding, and just a suburb feel with shops and restaurants nearby. Now, as we move closer to the University of New Mexico into Uptown, Uptown has really increased in value recently. It is a little bit more affordable than the rest of the Northeast Heights, although it is similar architectural styles with brick and stucco siding, ranch-style homes. And you're close to the amenities of Albuquerque Uptown, Windrock, which is developing as we speak right now, and Coronado Mall. Now moving west into the Balloon Fiesta area, this area has a diverse amount of architecture, but it is really only because these little neighborhoods are built between industrial and commercial businesses. So they're kind of mix or match in that way, and a little bit more affordable than some of the Northeast Heights and the North Valley, which is where we're at now. So heading down into the Rio Grande River Valley, into the North Valley, I'm going to include Coralis in this as well because they're similar styles, an agricultural, a rural feel. Think of wineries mixed in, larger lot sizes. You can find properties from 5,000 to 15,000 square feet on 2 to 3 acres. Coralis and Los Ranchos typically are around an acre per lot size. And it's all about being close to the Rio Grande River, the trails, the acequias and ditches along it, being amongst a canopy of trees. If you watch my YouTube channel, you've probably heard me say that a number of times. Crossing the Rio Grande River onto the west side, the northwest section of Albuquerque, Taylor Ranch, Ventana Ranch, these areas are really the only space that we have to expand in the future. And so property values are continuing to rise, but in general, it is much more affordable than the Northeast Heights. You can get a little bit more bang for your buck. And so think of this as the suburbs of Albuquerque. Moving a little bit north into Rio Rancho, which is a similar feel. Both the Rio Rancho and west side of Albuquerque are starting to increase the amount of shops and restaurants, things to do. So property values are increasing. And again, Rio Rancho has space to expand into. Northern Rio Rancho, where access through Bernalillo is somewhat easy. And then very south Rio Rancho, close to northwest Albuquerque, where again, it's easy to get to, close to Intel and close to the Rio Grande River Valley. And then as we get into Placetas, just a little bit east, this is an artist community, incredible views, similar to the Sandia Heights, but it's a little bit closer to Santa Fe. So it's often considered for people deciding between Albuquerque and Santa Fe. It's about 15 minutes to Albuquerque and 35-40 minutes up to Santa Fe. Now heading down south, all the way to the southwest portion of Albuquerque, I'm going to call this area the West Mesa. This is where we expanded to first across the Rio Grande River. So you do get properties a little bit older than you would in northwest Albuquerque. And what's interesting about the West Mesa area, as you move further southwest, you get into these newer constructed communities, gated, brand new homes. There's plenty of new construction to purchase at the moment. And again, this is the only area again on the west side that we can expand into. Okay, down into the South Valley area. Think similar to North Valley, agricultural, rural, larger lot sizes, larger property sizes, but a little bit more affordable than the North Valley. And so you can get a little bit more bang for your buck in this area. One thing I want to mention about the South Valley and the Southwest section or West Mesa, there's a larger or higher concentration of tiendas, stores and restaurants, a little bit more of a Hispanic cultural feel to the area. Mesa del Sol, where Netflix is based, a small area that we can expand into the future. It sits on top of the mesa by the main concert venue that we have here. And so it's developing right now. It hasn't really kicked off. We will see where we go in the future. And let's finish up with the East Mountains of Albuquerque, just on the other side of the Sandia Mountains. Cedar, Crest, and Taris have that high mountain feel with greenery and trees surrounding your property, privacy, tranquility. You get a little space between your neighbors. Because of the elevation, you find some interesting style properties. You can be off-grid in these areas and separated from everything in Albuquerque while still being only a 20 minutes drive away. As we move further north into Paco, San Pedro Creek Overlook, These areas are a rural feel, but in a modern setting with some custom homes that can range from 2,000 to 5,000 square feet. Paco has a beautiful golf course, one of the highest rated golf courses in the country. And then as we move further east into Moriarty, things are a little bit more flat in this area, a little less private, and of course, a little bit more affordable. I think that's roughly every location in and around the greater Albuquerque area. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. My contact information is always down in the description of this video. I want to thank you for watching, liking, and subscribing, and we will see you on the next one. Take care.